Ana Lopez kept her eyes down as she pushed her cleaning cart through the gleaming hallways of Ridgemont Music Academy. The evening sun cast long shadows across the polished floors, and the sounds of practice rooms filled with music wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. At 32, Ana had been working as a janitor at the academy for almost 5 years, yet many of the teachers still looked through her as if she were invisible. "Excuse me," a voice called out sharply. Ana jumped and quickly pulled her cart to the side of the hallway. Mr. Reed, the string instruments teacher, barely glanced her way as he strode past with his leather briefcase swinging at his side. She noticed how his shoes gleamed in the fading light, probably worth more than she made in a month. "Sorry, sir," Ana whispered, though he was already too far away to hear. The academy sat on top of a small hill overlooking the town of Ridgemont. From the outside, it looked like an old mansion with its brick walls covered in ivy and tall windows that seemed to watch over the town below. Inside, it was a maze of practice rooms, classrooms, and performance spaces where talented young musicians came to learn from some of the best teachers in the country. Ana finished cleaning the main hallway and moved toward the east wing where most of the practice rooms were. This was her favorite time of day. As students packed up and teachers headed home, Ana had the building almost to herself. Almost, but not quite. There were always a few dedicated students who stayed late, and Ana lived for these moments when their music floated through the halls. She slowed her pace as she approached practice room 7. The soft, sweet notes of a violin melody seeped through the closed door. Ana recognized the piece immediately, Bach's Partita No. 2. She had heard it so many times that she could feel every note in her bones. She set down her mop and closed her eyes, letting her right hand drift through the air as if holding an invisible bow. Ana hadn't always been a janitor. Back in her small village in Guatemala, her grandfather had owned a violin. It wasn't fancy or expensive, just an old thing with strings that sometimes broke and a bow that needed constant care. But when he played it on warm evenings outside their small house, the whole village would gather to listen. He had taught Ana the basics when she was just 6 years old, her small fingers struggling to reach across the fingerboard. "You have music in your blood," he used to tell her with a smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Never forget that." But life had a way of making you forget the important things. After her grandfather died, the violin was sold to pay for his funeral. By the time Ana was 16, her family had saved enough to send her to America for a better life. Dreams of music were replaced by the hard reality of survival. The door to practice room 7 suddenly swung open, and Ana quickly picked up her mop, pretending to clean. A young boy, maybe 13, stepped out clutching his violin case. He looked tired but satisfied. "Oh, hi," he said, noticing Ana. Most students didn't bother to speak to the cleaning staff, but this one had kind eyes. "Sorry, am I in your way?" No, Ana replied with a small smile. "I was just listening. You play beautifully." The boy's face lit up. "Thanks, I've been working on that piece for weeks. I still can't get the middle section right." "The chords are tricky there," Ana said without thinking. "If you let your wrist relax more on the string crossings, it might flow better." The boy stared at her with surprise. "You know about violin?" Ana's cheeks grew hot. She had said too much. Just things I hear the teachers say," she mumbled, turning back to her mop. "I'll try that tomorrow, thanks." The boy waved as he headed toward the exit, leaving Ana alone in the hallway with her thoughts and the fading echo of Bach. When the building was finally empty, Ana did what she had done almost every night for the past 5 years. She slipped into the small storage closet where the academy kept instruments for students who couldn't afford their own. Most were old and in need of repair, which was why they stayed locked away except for lessons. But Ana had found the key years ago, hidden in a dusty corner of the maintenance office. She had never stolen anything, never damaged any of the instruments. She just borrowed them for an hour or so each night, always cleaning and returning them carefully to their exact spots. Tonight she reached for the oldest violin in the collection. Its varnish was worn away in spots where countless hands had held it, and one of the fine tuners was missing. But when Ana tucked it under her chin, it felt like coming home. She didn't need sheet music. The pieces she loved most had been played so often in the practice rooms that they lived in her memory, note for note. She began to play softly, her calloused fingers finding their places on the fingerboard with practiced ease. The first few notes were always hesitant, like dipping a toe into cold water. But soon the music took over. Anna closed her eyes and let herself be carried away. In this moment, she wasn't a janitor anymore. She wasn't the invisible woman who cleaned up other people's messes. She was just a musician, having a conversation with a composer who had died hundreds of years ago, but whose thoughts still lived through his music. Time disappeared when Anna played. What felt like minutes was often much longer. Tonight she moved from Bach to Vivaldi, to a folk song her grandfather had taught her. Her body swayed with the music, and tears sometimes slid down her cheeks, though she never noticed them until they dropped onto the worn wood of the violin. A sudden bang from somewhere in the building startled her back to reality. Anna quickly wiped her face and carefully returned the violin to its case, making sure everything was exactly as she had found it. She locked the closet and returned to her cleaning cart, her heart still racing. It was nearly midnight by the time Anna left the academy. The night guard, Mr. Wilson, nodded to her as she walked past the security desk. "Another late night, Anna?" he asked kindly. Mr. Wilson was one of the few people at the academy who actually saw her. "Just finishing up the East Wing," she replied with a small smile. "You work too hard," he said, shaking his head. "You should go home and rest sometimes." But home was a small room in a house she shared with 4 other people, all of them working multiple jobs to make ends meet. The academy, with its soaring ceilings and music-filled halls, felt more like home than anywhere else. Anna stepped outside into the cool night air. The academy sat on a hill above the town, and from here she could see all of Ridgemont spread out below, little lights twinkling in the darkness. She pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders and began the long walk home. As she walked, Anna hummed the Vivaldi piece she had played earlier, her fingers moving at her side as if still pressing down invisible strings. She didn't notice the figure watching her from one of the academy's windows, Mrs. Chen, the piano teacher who had returned to collect some forgotten sheet music. Mrs. Chen stood still, watching with curiosity as the janitor walked away, her hands moving in perfect time with the melody she was humming. The next morning came too quickly. Anna's alarm went off at 5 a.m. and she dragged herself out of bed, careful not to wake Rosa, the elderly woman who shared the small bedroom with her. Anna's morning job was at a local cafe where she worked from 6 a.m. until her shift at the academy began at 2 p.m. The cafe was busy as usual, full of people grabbing coffee on their way to work. Anna moved efficiently behind the counter, taking orders and making drinks. Her mind was still half in the music from last night, her fingers sometimes tapping out rhythms on the counter when she thought no one was looking. "Large latte, extra shot," called out a familiar voice, and Anna looked up to see Mr. Reed, the string teacher from the academy. Her stomach tightened. He didn't recognize her, of course. To him, she was just another faceless service worker, invisible at the cafe just as she was invisible at the academy. She made his drink perfectly and handed it over without meeting his eyes. He dropped his change into the tip jar without a word and left, already talking on his phone about some upcoming recital. By the time Anna arrived at the academy that afternoon, her body ached from standing all day. But as soon as she entered the building, a sense of peace washed over her. The sounds of practice rooms filled with music, scales being repeated over and over, teachers calling out instructions. It was the soundtrack of her second life. "Anna." "Good, you're here," called the head of maintenance, a gruff man named Joe. "There's a big showcase coming up next week. All hands on deck to get this place spotless. Board members and donors will be all over the place," Anna nodded. The showcase was held twice a year, featuring the academy's most talented students. It was always a stressful time, with teachers pushing their students to perfection and administrators worried about impressing the wealthy donors who kept the academy running. As she began her usual cleaning routine, Anna couldn't help but feel a little flutter of excitement. Showcase weeks meant extra rehearsals, which meant more beautiful music filling the halls late into the evening. It meant she could stand outside the main performance hall and listen to full pieces being played with accompaniment, not just the fragments she usually heard from practice rooms. What Anna didn't know was that this showcase would change everything. She couldn't have imagined, as she carefully polished the brass railings and dusted the portrait frames of famous composers that lined the hallways, that in just a few days her secret world would be turned upside down. She was just Anna Lopez, the quiet janitor who kept her eyes down and did her job well, the woman everyone saw but no one noticed. the invisible keeper of the academy's physical space, moving through the background of other people's lives. But music has a way of making the invisible visible. And sometimes the most extraordinary talents hide in the most ordinary places, just waiting for their moment to shine. The week of the showcase arrived with a flurry of activity at Ridgemont Music Academy. Anna found herself working longer hours, rushing to clean up after rehearsals that ran late into the evening. Everywhere she turned, there were nervous students practicing in corners, teachers barking last-minute instructions, and staff hanging elegant banners in the main hall. "Anna, we need the stage mopped again," called Mrs. Patterson, the academy's event coordinator. Her voice carried a hint of panic as she clutched her clipboard. Someone spilled coffee all over the left side. Anna nodded and quickly grabbed her mop. The main performance hall was a beautiful space with high ceilings, dark wood paneling, and seats upholstered in deep red velvet. At the center of it all stood a gleaming black grand piano and several chairs arranged for the performers. The stage floor was polished hardwood, almost mirror-like in its shine. Anna took care with every stroke of her mop, knowing how important this showcase was for the academy. As she worked, she could hear raised voices coming from the back room behind the stage. Curious, Anna moved closer to the partially open door. "What do you mean Lily can't perform?" Mr. Reed's voice was sharp with frustration. "She's our closing act." "Her mother just called," replied Mrs. Chen, the piano teacher Anna had unknowingly encountered a few nights before. "Lily has a fever of 102. There's no way she can play tomorrow night." "This is a disaster," groaned a third voice that Anna recognized as Dr. Bennett, the academy's director. "That piece was meant to impress the Henderson Foundation. We need their donation for the scholarship program." Anna continued mopping, moving slowly to catch more of the conversation. She felt a pang of sympathy for Lily, whoever she was. Getting sick right before a big performance must be heartbreaking. "We could ask Thomas to step in," suggested Mrs. Chen. "Thomas isn't ready for that level of performance," Mr. Reed replied dismissively. "None of the other students know that piece well enough to perform it tomorrow." There was a heavy silence, and Anna imagined the teachers exchanging worried glances. The scholarship program was vital for the academy. It allowed talented kids from poorer families to attend. Anna had overheard enough conversations to know that without the Henderson Foundation's support, many students would lose their chance at a music education. She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice when the door swung open fully, revealing her presence to the group of teachers inside. "What are you doing?" Dr. Bennett asked sharply, making Anna jump. I'm sorry," Anna stammered. "I was just cleaning the stage like Mrs. Patterson asked." Mr. Reed looked at her with narrowed eyes. "Were you listening to our conversation?" Anna's cheeks burned. "No, sir. I heard voices, but I wasn't trying to—" "It doesn't matter," Mrs. Chen interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "We have bigger problems to solve." Dr. Bennett sighed and ran a hand through his thinning hair. "We need to find someone who can play Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto by tomorrow evening, or the Henderson Foundation will think we're not serious about our program." Mr. Reed snorted and gestured toward Anna with a nod of his head. "Maybe our janitor can fill in," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "What do you say? Can you play the violin?" He laughed, and a few of the other teachers joined in. Anna stood frozen, her hands tight around the mop handle. Her heart hammered in her chest. She should laugh it off, she knew. She should smile politely and go back to her cleaning. But something in Mr. Reed's mocking tone sparked a flame of anger in her chest. Before she could think better of it, Anna heard herself say quietly, "I used to play. A little." The laughter stopped abruptly. Mr. Reed's eyebrows shot up in surprise, then settled into a look of amusement. "Oh, our cleaning lady is a violinist?" He looked at his colleagues with a smirk. "Well, this is perfect then. Problem solved." "David, stop," Mrs. Chen said, frowning at him. "Don't be cruel." But Dr. Bennett was looking at Anna with a strange expression. "You play the violin?" he asked, his tone somewhere between disbelief and desperate hope. Anna wished she could take back her words. "It was a long time ago," she said quickly. Just simple things my grandfather taught me. Nothing like what you teach here." "Have you ever heard Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto?" Mr. Reed asked, his tone making it clear he already knew the answer. Anna's mind raced. She had heard it countless times, echoing through the halls of the academy. She had even played parts of it during her secret late-night sessions. though never the whole piece from beginning to end. It was beautiful but incredibly difficult, one of the most challenging works in the violin repertoire. I've heard it, she admitted softly. Dr. Bennett and Mrs. Chen exchanged glances. Mr. Reed's smirk grew wider. Well, it seems we have our solution, Mr. Reed said, clapping his hands together. Our janitor will save the day. David, this isn't funny, Mrs. Chen protested. No, it's perfect, Mr. Reed insisted. If she fails, which she obviously will, we can tell the Henderson Foundation that our scheduled performer fell ill at the last minute, and we did our best to find a replacement. They'll appreciate our dedication to the show going on. If by some miracle she manages not to embarrass herself completely, we have our closing act. Anna's stomach twisted. They wanted to use her as a scapegoat, someone to blame when the important donors were disappointed. The smart thing would be to refuse, to go back to her mopping and stay in her safe, invisible world. But then she thought of the scholarship program, of kids who, like her, might never get the chance to study music properly without help. Kids whose talents might remain hidden forever if they didn't get this opportunity. I'll try, Anna said, her voice stronger than she expected. The room fell silent again. Dr. Bennett looked at her with surprise. Mrs. Chen seemed concerned. And Mr. Reed looked like he'd just been handed an unexpected gift. Wonderful, he said, his voice silky smooth. We'll put you on the program. Right after intermission, I think. What's your full name? Ana Lopez, she replied, her mouth dry. Mr. Reed scribbled something on a piece of paper. Ana Lopez playing Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto in D major. Perfect. He looked up at her with cold eyes. You'll need to wear something inappropriate, not your cleaning uniform. I have a dress, Anna said quietly, thinking of the simple black dress she wore to church. And you'll need to practice, Dr. Bennett added, still looking stunned by this turn of events. You can use practice room 3 tomorrow morning. She'll need an instrument, Mrs. Chen pointed out. Mr. Reed's smile turned predatory. She can use mine, he said, surprising everyone in the room. Mr. Reed's violin was rumored to be a genuine Stradivarius, worth more money than Anna would earn in several lifetimes. I'll bring it tomorrow for her to practice with. Anna knew what he was doing. Giving her an instrument so valuable would only increase her nervousness, making failure more likely. It was a calculated move to ensure her humiliation would be complete. Thank you, she said anyway, meeting his gaze steadily. As Anna left the room and returned to her cleaning, her hands were shaking so badly she could hardly hold the mop. What had she done? She had just agreed to perform one of the most difficult pieces in classical music, in front of hundreds of people, including wealthy donors and every teacher at the academy, and she would be playing Mr. Reed's priceless violin, an instrument she had never touched before. She finished her shift in a daze and walked home under a sky full of stars, her mind racing. That night Anna didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed in the dark, her fingers moving through the air, playing an invisible violin as she mentally worked through the concerto from memory. Every note, every phrase, every dynamic marking, she had absorbed it all during countless hours of listening outside practice room doors. The next morning, Anna arrived at the academy 2 hours before her regular shift. The building was quiet, with only a few early students practicing. She made her way to practice room 3, where she found Mr. Reed waiting, violin case in hand. I didn't think you'd actually show up, he said, looking slightly annoyed that she had. I said I would, Anna replied simply. Mr. Reed opened the case and lifted out the violin. Even in the bland fluorescent light of the practice room, it glowed with a warm, honeyed hue that spoke of its age and quality. He handed it to her with obvious reluctance. Do you know how much this is worth? He asked. Anna nodded. I'll be very careful with it. Mr. Reed placed the bow in her hand as well. I'll be back in an hour to get it. Try not to damage it. With that, he left, closing the door firmly behind him. Anna stood alone in the practice room, holding the violin that was worth more than her entire life. She lifted it slowly to her shoulder, adjusting her posture instinctively. The violin felt different from the old academy instrument she usually borrowed, lighter, more responsive, almost eager to be played. She drew the bow across the strings, and a rich golden tone filled the room. Anna closed her eyes and let out a slow breath. Then she began to play. For the next hour, Anna lost herself in the music. The concerto was challenging, with its double stops, rapid passages, and complex rhythms. But Anna had been playing this piece in her head for years, her fingers knowing exactly where to go even when they faltered on the unfamiliar instrument. When Mr. Reed returned, he paused outside the door, listening. Anna was deep in the first movement, her body swaying slightly with the music. Through the small window in the door, he could see her face, eyes closed, expression serene yet intense. His smirk faded, replaced by a look of confusion. He pushed the door open abruptly, causing Anna to stop mid-phrase. "Time's up," he said curtly. Anna carefully placed the violin back in its case. "Thank you for lending it to me," she said, her voice soft but steady. Mr. Reed studied her face. "Where did you learn to play?" "My grandfather taught me the basics," Anna replied. "The rest I learned by listening." "Impossible," Mr. Reed muttered, snapping the case shut. "You'll perform after intermission. Don't be late." As he strode away with his precious violin, Anna remained in the practice room, her heart pounding. Tonight she would step onto the stage not as a janitor but as a musician. Tonight she would either fulfill a dream she had never dared to voice aloud, or face the most public humiliation of her life. Either way, after tonight everything would change. The afternoon crawled by as Anna went through the motions of her regular cleaning duties. Her mind was elsewhere, her fingers occasionally twitching as if playing invisible strings. A few students gave her curious looks. Her name had appeared on the evening's program, and whispers had already begun to spread through the academy. "Is it true?" asked a young boy Anna recognized as the kind student who had spoken to her outside practice room 7. "Are you really performing tonight?" Anna nodded, her throat too dry to speak. The boy grinned. "That's so cool. I'll be cheering for you." His simple encouragement nearly brought tears to her eyes. She managed a small smile before continuing with her work, the mop moving mechanically across the floor as her mind raced through passages of Tchaikovsky. At 5 o'clock, Anna slipped away to the small staff bathroom with a bag, containing her black dress and a few basic makeup items borrowed from her roommate Rosa. The bathroom's harsh, fluorescent light made her look pale and tired. Dark circles shadowed her eyes from her sleepless night. As she changed, Anna caught glimpses of herself in the spotted mirror. The dress was simple, knee-length with short sleeves, but clean and modest. It was the best she had. She pinned her dark hair into a neat bun at the nape of her neck, the way she had seen female violinists wear it. With shaking hands, she applied a touch of lipstick and mascara. A knock at the door made her jump. "Anna, are you in there?" It was Mrs. Chen's voice. "Yes," Anna called back, quickly gathering her work clothes into her bag. "May I come in?" Anna unlocked the door. Mrs. Chen slipped inside, carrying what looked like a garment bag. "I thought you might—" Mrs. Chen paused, looking Anna over. "Oh, you already have a dress. That's good." "It's not very fancy," Anna said, suddenly self-conscious. Mrs. Chen waved a hand dismissively. "It's fine. Black is traditional for performers." She hesitated, then added, "I brought you this, though." She opened the garment bag to reveal a beautiful dark blue shawl with subtle silver threads woven through it. "This was my daughter's," Mrs. Chen explained. "She used to perform with it. For luck." "I can't take," Anna began. "Just borrow it," Mrs. Chen insisted, draping it around Anna's shoulders. "It completes the look." The shawl was soft and lightweight, shimmering slightly under the bathroom lights. Anna touched it gently. "Thank you," she whispered. Mrs. Chen studied her for a moment. "How long have you been playing?" "Really playing, I mean." Anna looked down. "I play whenever I can. At night when everyone's gone. I borrow the old violins from the storage closet." Instead of seeming angry about this admission, Mrs. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "I thought so. I saw you one night walking home. Your hands were moving, playing an invisible violin." Anna felt her cheeks grow hot with embarrassment. "Who taught you Tchaikovsky?" Mrs. Chen pressed. "No one," Anna admitted. "I've heard it played so many times in the practice rooms. I listen and I remember." Mrs. Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. "You learned the entire concerto by ear?" Anna nodded, expecting disbelief or scorn. Instead, Mrs. Chen gave her a long, appraising look. "Mr. Reed is expecting you to fail tonight," she said bluntly. "He wants you to embarrass yourself." "I know," Anna replied softly. "Why did you agree to this?" Anna thought for a moment. "Because no one has ever asked me to play before." The simple truth of it hung in the air between them. Mrs. Chen adjusted the shawl around Anna's shoulders. Well, they're asking now. She checked her watch. It's almost time. The hall is filling up. Anna's stomach lurched. Until this moment, the idea of performing had been abstract. A challenge, a chance, a risk. Now it was becoming real. Hundreds of people would be watching her, judging her. I don't think I can do this, Anna whispered, panic rising in her chest. Mrs. Chen's expression softened. When you play in the storage closet at night, who are you playing for? For myself, Anna answered. For the music. Then play for yourself tonight, Mrs. Chen said firmly. Play for the music. Forget about Mr. Reed. Forget about the donors, forget about everyone else. Just play. With that, she ushered Anna out of the bathroom and down the hallway toward the main performance hall. The corridor was alive with activity. Students in formal wear making last-minute adjustments to their appearances, parents offering encouragement, teachers giving final instructions. Anna was led to a small waiting area behind the stage where the performers gathered. A few students glanced her way with curious expressions. Mr. Reed stood across the room, deep in conversation with Dr. Bennett. When he spotted Anna, his conversation stopped abruptly. He approached carrying his violin case. I see you decided to go through with this, he said, his tone suggesting he had expected her to back out. He handed her the case reluctantly. Remember, this instrument is worth more than you'll earn in a lifetime. I'll be careful with it, Anna promised, taking the case with reverent hands. Mr. Reed leaned closer. Listen, when you realize you can't do this, and you will, just stop playing and walk off. Better a short embarrassment than prolonging the agony. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Anna clutching the violin case. From the stage came the sound of Dr. Bennett's voice welcoming the audience and explaining the importance of the evening's performances for the Academy's scholarship program. Anna peeked through a gap in the curtains. The hall was packed, every red velvet seat filled with well-dressed people. In the front row, she could see a group that must be the representatives from the Henderson Foundation, their expressions politely attentive. The first half of the program passed in a blur. Anna watched from the wings as student after student performed, each one skilled and well-rehearsed. Applause rose and fell like waves. Before she knew it, intermission had arrived. And then it was over, and Dr. Bennett was back on stage introducing the second half. Due to an unexpected illness, our scheduled closing performer, Lily Huang, is unable to play this evening, Dr. Bennett announced. In her place, we are pleased to present a special guest. Please welcome Ana Lopez, performing Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto in D major. The applause was polite but confused. Anna could hear murmured questions rippling through the audience. Who? Anna who? Is she new faculty? Mrs. Chen, who had positioned herself at the piano as accompanist, gave Anna an encouraging nod. It was time. Anna stepped onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding her. She felt rather than saw the collective surprise of the audience as they realized the Academy's janitor was walking onto the stage in a simple black dress and blue shawl. From the corner of her eye, she could see Mr. Reed standing in the wings, arms crossed, a small smile playing at his lips as he waited for the disaster to unfold. Anna's legs felt weak as she reached center stage. She opened the violin case and lifted out the beautiful instrument. Aware of the sudden hush that had fallen over the hall, she tucked the violin under her chin, adjusted her posture, and raised the bow. For a terrifying moment, her mind went completely blank. The music she had played countless times in her head vanished, leaving only panic in its place. The silence stretched, becoming uncomfortable. Anna could feel sweat beading on her forehead. In the wings, Mr. Reed's smile widened. Then from the back of her mind, she heard her grandfather's voice. You have music in your blood. Never forget that. Anna closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began to play. The opening notes filled the hall, soft, hesitant at first, like a question being asked. Anna kept her eyes closed, letting muscle memory guide her fingers across the strings. The familiar melody wrapped around her like an old friend, comforting in its complexity. As the introduction gave way to the main theme, Anna felt something shift inside her. The fear melted away, replaced by a joy so pure it brought tears to her eyes. Her body began to sway with the music, her bow moving more confidently across the strings. She opened her eyes and was startled to see the expression on the faces in the front row. Gone was the polite attention, replaced by wide-eyed amazement. One woman had a hand pressed to her mouth. A man was leaning forward in his seat, brow furrowed in concentration. Anna's fingers flew across the fingerboard, finding notes with unerring accuracy. The difficult runs and arpeggios that had seemed so daunting in practice now flowed from her like water. Mrs. Chen followed her lead at the piano, matching Anna's tempo and dynamics perfectly. In the wings, Mr. Reed's smug smile had vanished. His face had gone pale, his arms hanging limply at his sides as he watched the janitor transform before his eyes into a world-class violinist. The music built to its first climax, and Anna's heart soared with it. She was no longer playing from memory. She was creating the music anew, breathing life into Tchaikovsky's notes with her own soul. Every hour she had spent listening outside practice room doors, every secret night playing borrowed instruments, every moment of her life that had led her here, it all came together in this performance. When the first movement ended, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the hall erupted in applause so thunderous it seemed to shake the building's foundations. People were standing, calling out in appreciation. Anna stood frozen in place, overwhelmed by the response. As the applause continued, she caught sight of Dr. Bennett in the wings opposite Mr. Reed. The director's mouth was hanging open, his eyes wide with disbelief. Next to him stood Mrs. Patterson, the event coordinator, who was frantically flipping through her program as if searching for information about this mysterious violinist who had appeared from nowhere. The applause showed no signs of stopping. Anna looked toward Mrs. Chen, who nodded encouragingly. Understanding, Anna raised her bow again and launched into the second movement. The sweet singing melody of the canzonetta floated above the now silent audience. Anna poured all of her longing, all of her secret dreams into the music. In this moment, she was not Ana Lopez, the janitor. She was simply a musician, speaking the universal language of music that needed no translation. As the final movement approached, Anna felt a surge of confidence. The third movement was fast, technically demanding, and full of life. She attacked it with abandon, her fingers a blur on the strings. The audience was with her every step of the way, gasping at particularly difficult passages, completely engrossed in her performance. When the final notes rang out, Anna stood breathing heavily, bow still raised, violin still tucked under her chin. For a heartbeat there was silence, then the hall exploded. The applause seemed endless. People rose to their feet, clapping until their hands hurt, some wiping tears from their eyes. Anna stood at the center of the stage, clutching the violin, her chest rising and falling rapidly as she tried to catch her breath. The lights were hot on her face, and the sound of hundreds of people cheering washed over her like a wave. Dr. Bennett rushed onto the stage, his face a mixture of shock and delight. He took Anna's hand and raised it high, which only made the audience cheer louder. Anna couldn't hear what he was saying over the noise, but she could read the words "thank you" on his lips. She managed a small, shaky smile as he led her in a bow. From the corner of her eye, Anna could see the representatives from the Henderson Foundation on their feet, talking excitedly among themselves. One of them, an older woman with silver hair, was dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. As the applause finally began to die down, Anna carefully placed Mr. Reed's violin back in its case. Her hands were trembling, not from fear anymore, but from the rush of emotions flooding through her. Joy, relief, pride, disbelief, they all swirled together, making her feel lightheaded. That was... Dr. Bennett seemed at a loss for words as they walked off the stage together. That was extraordinary, truly extraordinary. Backstage was chaos. Students crowded around Anna, firing questions at her. Where did you learn to play like that? Have you performed before? Why are you working as a janitor? Before Anna could answer any of them, Mrs. Chen appeared at her side, gently guiding her away from the crowd. Give her some space, she said firmly. She needs a moment. Mrs. Chen led Anna to a small office off the main hallway, closing the door behind them. The sudden quiet was almost shocking after the roar of the audience and the excited chatter backstage. Sit, Mrs. Chen ordered, gesturing to a chair. You're white as a sheet. I think you're in shock. Anna sank into the chair gratefully. Her legs felt like they might give out at any moment. I can't believe that just happened, she whispered. Mrs. Chen smiled. Believe it. I've never heard anyone play that piece with such heart. She studied Anna with curious eyes. Now I think you have a story to tell. Who are you really, Ana Lopez? Anna took a deep breath. I am who I said I am. A janitor who loves music, and before that, Anna's eyes dropped to her hands, calloused from years of cleaning but still bearing the marks of a violinist. The slightly flattened fingertips on her left hand, the faint groove on the side of her neck where the violin rested. I was a child in Guatemala, she began slowly. My grandfather played violin in village celebrations. He taught me when I was small. We didn't have proper lessons or music books, just his old violin and the songs he knew by heart. She paused, lost in memories. When I was 12, a music teacher from the city heard me play at a festival. He said I had a gift. He arranged for me to attend a special music school in the capital. For 3 years I studied there. They said I could become a professional someday. Mrs. Chen nodded encouragingly. What happened? Anna's face clouded. War happened. Fighting came to our region. My family lost everything. My grandfather died. His violin, the only thing of value we had, was sold to pay for food. She fell silent for a moment. When I was 16, my parents scraped together enough money to send me to America to live with my aunt. They thought I would have a better life here, maybe even continue with music. But you didn't, Mrs. Chen said softly. Anna shook her head. My aunt died soon after I arrived. I had no other family here, no money, no papers. I worked whatever jobs I could find. Cleaning mostly. She gestured vaguely around her. I got this job 5 years ago. When I realized it was a music school, she smiled sadly. It felt like fate. At least I could be near music even if I couldn't play openly. There was a knock at the door before Mrs. Chen could respond. Dr. Bennett poked his head in. Anna, the Henderson Foundation representatives would like to meet you, and there's a reporter from the local paper asking for an interview. Anna's eyes widened in alarm. Reporter? I don't. It's all right, Dr. Bennett assured her. You don't have to talk to anyone you don't want to. But the Henderson people, they're quite insistent. Mrs. Chen stood. I'll come with you, she told Anna. Just a quick hello, then you can rest. The next hour passed in a blur. Anna was introduced to the Henderson Foundation Board. 5 well-dressed people who asked her questions about her training and background. She told them her story simply, without embellishment. They exchanged glances as she spoke, their expressions moving from surprise to sympathy to something like resolve. Ms. Lopez, said the silver-haired woman Anna had noticed earlier, your performance tonight was one of the most moving things I've ever witnessed. The Henderson Foundation was created to find and nurture hidden talent. I can't think of a more perfect example of why our work matters than you. By the time Anna finally escaped the crowd of well-wishers and admirers, it was nearly midnight. The academy was quiet now, the audience long gone. Only the cleaning crew remained, working their way through the empty halls. Anna's colleagues looked at her differently now, with a mixture of awe and confusion. As she gathered her things from her locker, Anna realized she was still wearing Mrs. Chen's blue shawl. She began to take it off when she heard footsteps approaching. She turned, expecting Mrs. Chen, but instead found herself face to face with Mr. Reed. He stood awkwardly in the doorway, his violin case clutched tightly in one hand. His earlier smugness was gone, replaced by an uncomfortable, almost pained expression. For a long moment they looked at each other in silence. Your violin, Anna said at last, reaching for her bag where she had carefully packed the instrument. I kept it safe. Mr. Reed took the case from her, his movement stiff. He opened it, checking the violin as if he expected to find it damaged. Finding it in perfect condition, he closed the case again. Where did you learn to play like that? He asked finally, his voice barely above a whisper. I told you, Anna replied. My grandfather taught me the basics. The rest I learned by listening, by watching through windows, by practicing in secret when everyone was gone. Mr. Reed shook his head in disbelief. That's not possible. No one learns to play Tchaikovsky by ear. It takes years of formal training, professional instruction. Anna simply looked at him, too tired to argue. You made a fool of me tonight, Mr. Reed continued, a flash of anger in his eyes. You let me believe you were just a what? Anna interrupted, finding a strength in her voice she hadn't known was there. Just a janitor? That's what I am, Mr. Reed. That's the job I do, and I do it well. I clean your classrooms and empty your trash and mop your floors. Does that mean I can't also be a musician? Mr. Reed had no answer to that. He stood speechless, clutching his violin case like a shield. "I didn't set out to embarrass you," Anna continued more gently. "You did that yourself when you decided I wasn't worth taking seriously." A flush crept up Mr. Reed's neck. He opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. Finally, he gave a short nod and turned to leave. "Mr. Reed," Anna called after him. He paused but didn't turn around. "Thank you for lending me your violin. It's beautiful." His shoulders tensed, then relaxed slightly. Without a word, he walked away, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. Anna finished gathering her things and headed for the exit. She was exhausted, emotionally and physically drained. All she wanted was to go home and sleep for days. But as she stepped outside into the cool night air, she found Mrs. Chen and Dr. Bennett waiting for her. "Anna," Dr. Bennett began, "we've been talking. The response to your performance tonight was unprecedented. The Henderson Foundation has already committed to doubling their donation to our scholarship program." "That's wonderful," Anna said sincerely. "Yes, it is," Dr. Bennett agreed, "and they've specifically requested that some of those funds be used to create a new position at the academy." Anna looked between them, confused. "What kind of position?" "A teaching position," Mrs. Chen explained. "For someone with your unique gifts and perspective. Someone who can teach students who may not have had formal training but have raw talent and passion." "You want me to teach?" Anna asked, her voice barely audible. "Here," Dr. Bennett nodded. "We would also provide you with advanced training, of course. Help you develop your own skills further. The Henderson Foundation is prepared to sponsor you fully." Anna felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Mrs. Chen urged softly. "You belong on the stage, Anna, or in a classroom teaching others, not pushing a mop." Anna thought about all the nights she had spent playing in secret, all the years of hiding her passion, of being invisible. She thought about her grandfather and his belief in her talent. She thought about what it might mean to other kids like her, kids with dreams but no opportunities. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking on the word. "Yes, I would like that very much." As they walked together toward the parking lot, Dr. Bennett chatting excitedly about plans for Anna's new role, Anna looked back at the academy building. Its windows glowed warmly in the darkness like eyes watching her leave. But for the first time, she wasn't leaving as the invisible woman who cleaned when no one was looking. Tomorrow she would return as someone new, someone who had been there all along, waiting to be seen. In her pocket, her phone buzzed with a text message from Rosa, her roommate. "There are reporters outside our apartment." "What did you do?" Anna laughed softly. Her old life was already slipping away, faster than she could have imagined. Whatever came next would be challenging in its own way. But she was ready. For the first time in years, she was ready to step into the light and play her own song. 6 months had passed since the night that changed everything. Anna stood in front of her classroom at Ridgemont Music Academy, watching as her students packed up their instruments. The spring sunlight streamed through tall windows, catching dust motes that danced in the air. "Remember to practice those scales," Anna called out as they filed toward the door. "Even 10 minutes a day makes a difference." A girl with braided hair lingered behind, clutching her violin case. "Ms. Lopez? I tried what you showed me yesterday, about feeling the rhythm in my body first. It helped a lot," Anna smiled. "I'm glad, Lucia. That's how my grandfather taught me. Music isn't just in your fingers, it's in your whole self." When the room emptied, Anna moved to the window and looked out at the academy grounds. Spring had transformed the campus much as the past 6 months had transformed her life. Where once she had pushed a cleaning cart through these halls, now she walked with a violin case and a teacher's schedule. The first few weeks had been the hardest. Some faculty members welcomed her warmly, while others kept their distance, uncomfortable with the janitor who had suddenly become their colleague. The students, though, had no such reservations. They flocked to her classes, fascinated by her story and her unusual teaching methods. Unlike other instructors who focused on technique first, Anna began with the heart of the music, its emotion, its story. "Anyone can learn to move their fingers correctly," she often told her students. "The harder part is learning to move people's hearts." A knock at the classroom door pulled Anna from her thoughts. She turned to find Mrs. Chen standing there, a newspaper in her hand. "Have you seen this?" Mrs. Chen asked, holding it out. Anna took the paper and read the headline. "Janitor turned virtuoso transforms academy. scholarship program triples in size. Below was a photo of Anna teaching a group of children, her face animated as she demonstrated something on her violin. Page 3 has the full article, Mrs. Chen said, pointing. Anna flipped to it and skimmed the text. It described how the Henderson Foundation, inspired by her story, had dramatically increased its funding. The Academy had used the money to create a new program specifically for talented students from disadvantaged backgrounds, students who might never have formal training but showed natural ability. The Undiscovered Talent Initiative, Anna read aloud. 27 new students this semester alone. She looked up at Mrs. Chen. I didn't realize it had grown so quickly. Mrs. Chen smiled. People connect with your story, Anna. It makes them wonder how many other hidden musicians are out there. Cleaning buildings or serving food or driving buses. People with gifts the world never gets to see. Anna handed the newspaper back, feeling a familiar mix of pride and embarrassment. In the months since her performance, she had given interviews, played at fundraisers, even appeared on a morning television show. The attention still felt strange, like ill-fitting clothes she hadn't broken in yet. The board meeting is in 10 minutes, Mrs. Chen reminded her. Ready? Anna nodded, gathering her things. As a faculty member now, she attended the monthly board meetings, something that still felt surreal. They walked together through the halls that Anna once cleaned. Students called out greetings as they passed. Anna knew each of them by name, not just her own students, but all of them. She made a point of it, remembering how it felt to be invisible. The boardroom was already half full when they arrived. Dr. Bennett waved them over to 2 empty seats. Anna sat down, smoothing her skirt nervously. She wore simple but professional clothes now, bought with her teacher's salary. A far cry from her old uniform, yet nothing too fancy. She wanted her scholarship students to see someone who looked like them, someone they could relate to. As the meeting began, Anna let her mind drift back to the incredible changes of the past 6 months. After her performance, everything had happened so quickly. There had been paperwork, so much paperwork to establish her new position. The Henderson Foundation had insisted on providing her with her own violin, a beautiful instrument that she still couldn't believe belonged to her. She had moved out of the crowded house she shared with Rosa and others, into a small but sunny apartment closer to the academy. For the first time in her life, she had a space all her own, with room for a small piano and bookshelves filled with music scores that she was still learning to read properly. 3 times a week, she took lessons herself, advanced instruction to fill the gaps in her education. The rest of the time she taught. Her classes were unlike any others at the academy. While traditional instructors focused on classical techniques and rigid practice routines, Anna incorporated what she called music by heart, teaching students to play not just with technical skill but with genuine emotion. Anna? Dr. Bennett's voice broke through her thoughts. Would you like to share how the new scholarship program is going? All eyes turned to her. Anna straightened in her seat. It's going well, she began. The students are making remarkable progress, especially considering most of them never had formal lessons before coming here. She went on to describe her teaching methods and the unique challenges her students faced, from those who couldn't afford their own instruments to those who worked jobs after school to help support their families. As she spoke, she noticed Mr. Reed watching her from across the table. Their relationship had evolved in an unexpected way. After that awkward confrontation on the night of her performance, Anna had expected coldness or continued hostility. Instead, Mr. Reed had approached her a few weeks later with a stiff apology and an even stiffer offer to help with her advanced training. His expertise was undeniable, and despite their history, Anna had accepted. Their first lessons together had been tense, with Mr. Reed nitpicking every aspect of her technique. But gradually something shifted. He began to respect her natural talent and unique perspective, while she came to value his technical knowledge and attention to detail. They would never be friends exactly, but they had found a kind of truce built on mutual respect for the music they both loved. After the meeting ended, Anna had one more class to teach, her favorite of the week. The Undiscovered Talent Initiative included a community outreach program where anyone could come for free lessons on Saturday afternoons. People of all ages showed up, children whose families couldn't afford regular lessons, Adults who had always wanted to learn but never had the chance. Elderly people fulfilling lifelong dreams. Today the classroom was full as usual. Anna moved among her students, correcting a hand position here, offering encouragement there. Near the back, an older man struggled with holding the bow correctly, his work-roughened hands seemingly too stiff for the delicate movements required. Anna knelt beside him. "Try this," she said gently, guiding his fingers into a more relaxed position. "Don't fight the bow. Think of it as an extension of your arm, like it's part of you." The man's face lit up as he drew the bow across the strings and produced a clear, clean note. "I did it," he exclaimed, looking as delighted as a child. "Yes, you did," Anna agreed, smiling at his joy. In moments like these, she felt most at home in her new role. She understood what it meant to discover music later in life, to feel that connection that transcended background or education or social status. As the lesson continued, Anna caught sight of a small figure watching from the doorway, a young girl in a cleaner's uniform pausing in her work to listen to the music. Their eyes met and Anna smiled warmly, gesturing for her to come in. The girl shook her head shyly and disappeared down the hallway. Anna made a mental note to look for her after class. She knew what it was to stand outside, face pressed to the glass, looking in at a world that seemed out of reach. When the lesson ended and the students had gone, Anna walked through the quiet building. In the east wing, she found what she was looking for, a cleaning cart parked outside one of the practice rooms. The young girl was inside, mopping the floor and humming softly to herself. Anna knocked gently on the open door. The girl jumped, nearly dropping her mop. "I'm sorry to startle you," Anna said. "I noticed you watching the class earlier." The girl looked down. "I wasn't slacking off," she said quickly. "I just heard the music and, do you like music?" Anna interrupted gently. The girl nodded, still not meeting Anna's eyes. "Have you ever played an instrument?" A small shake of the head. Anna smiled. "Would you like to learn?" Now the girl looked up, surprise and longing flashing across her face before doubt clouded her expression. "Someone like me?" The words hit Anna like a physical blow, so familiar they might have come from her own mouth not so long ago. She stepped into the room and held out her hand. "My name is Ana Lopez," she said. 6 months ago, I was the one cleaning these rooms. Now I teach here. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that music belongs to everyone, especially someone like you." The girl's eyes widened. "You're her? The one they talk about? The janitor who played at the showcase?" Anna nodded. "That's me, and I'd be honored to teach you if you'd like to learn." As the girl's face broke into a tentative smile, Anna felt a sense of completion. The circle had turned. Once she had been the one hiding her talent, cleaning in silence while music lived locked inside her. Now she had the power to open doors, to recognize the gift in others that had almost gone unseen in herself. Music finds its way to those who truly listen. Anna told the girl as they walked together toward the storage room, where the academy kept its spare violins. No matter who they appear to be,